Before we get to that Republican response, I want to see if quickly we can get just a word from Garrett Haake, who has been in the chamber for this. Garrett, we have spent a lot of time talking about what we perceived to be the back and forth between the president and what were effectively hecklers on the Republican side. We were sort of chained to the pool camera in terms of what we could see. From inside the room, did you have any further clarity on who was yelling at the president and what that back and forth was like in the few instances in the speech where that happened?
Yeah, Rachel, certainly the most interactive State of the Union I've ever covered. And some of it was clearly intentional on the part of the president when he kind of did the rope-a-dope on protecting Social Security and Medicare. I mean, that was clearly designed to elicit the reaction that it got. And you saw the president kind of give as good as he got in that back and forth. What happened after that was mostly Marjorie Taylor Greene and a handful of other Republicans in the back of the room trying to engage the president further on issues around the border and on fentanyl. You heard Marjorie Taylor Greene call the president a liar. You heard some shouting about China spying on us, secure the border. And another member who I couldn't identify, who's sitting just below me, kind of away from the rest of the most sort of pro-Trump Republicans who sit in the back center of the chamber, who said during the portion of fentanyl deaths that it's your fault, which kind of drew the most gasps and kind of the most negative reaction from fellow Republicans, that was clearly just taking things a little bit too far. So a very, very animated room that I think you could probably argue in all those instances played to President Biden's advantage a little bit. Obviously, the intentional kind of rope-a-dope on Medicare and Social Security, and then Republicans chasing him and trying to respond to him in a way that Kevin McCarthy warned them this morning in their closed-door conference meeting not to do, that the lights and the cameras and the microphones would be on them. And in an effort to look like sort of serious governing partners, that wouldn't do. And there they were.
And Garrett, in the moment, it looked to us like Kevin McCarthy, we were trying to read his body language a little bit, which was hard, and we all had disagreements as to what his body language meant, but some of us felt like he was saying shush, shush, trying to make eye contact with members who were yelling at the president, telling them to hush. Is that fair? Is that what it seemed like?
I would have a similar read here, too. I mean, first of all, we know that that's not the way that he wanted to present his conference in terms of getting into a shouting back and forth with the president. He's got a great lengths over the last week to try to present himself and Republicans as sort of worthy partners on something like negotiating the debt ceiling, that they belong in the room with the president. They belong at the White House sitting down at a table like adults. And other Republican members, even Byron Donalds, tweeted today about the adults being back in charge in Washington. That was not the image that Kevin McCarthy wanted, to have his members yelling at the president. But he knows as well as anybody where those cameras are in the chamber. And when you're the speaker, one of them's always on you. And so his ability to communicate that to his conference, at least in any way that would be effective, was pretty limited as well.
One last question for you, Garrett, just about in terms of like sightlines and the kind of thing that you could see when there were Republican members, and you've singled out Marjorie Taylor Greene as one of them. We just played some clips where you could see her repeatedly screaming liar and kind of sneering angrily at the president while she was doing it. When the president was responding to some of those heckling moments, was he looking at the individual Republicans who were screaming and going back at them? That's what it looked like when we had the camera on him at the podium. But is that the direction in which he was looking and directing his own rebuttal?
I got the sense that President Biden was prepared for some of this, right? On the Medicare and Social Security, he clearly was prepared to respond directly. He used that other line that he likes to use about, his old football coach used to say, good luck in your senior year. Yeah. That was clearly directed back at a member. But I think as the heckling went on, the desire by the president to engage directly kind of went away. I mean, he would sort of pause and look in the general direction. But, and from my perspective, it's a little bit difficult to tell over the clapping and the noise as it happens in real time. But it didn't seem like he was interested in engaging with those interruptions when it got beyond kind of the substantive policy things he wanted to engage with them on.
Garrett Haake, invaluable for us to have you in the room and able to report on some of that. We're now